From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. Radio Pilipinas World Service can also be heard on shortwave broadcast through the shortwave facilities of the United States Agency for Global Media or Voice of America on the following shortwave frequencies: 15.640 MHz, 17.750 MHz, and 21.720 MHz. I'm your host, Leo Magpayo, and this is Dateline Malacañang. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and First Lady Luis Araneta Marcos led the opening of the Presidential Photojournalists Association or PPA's exhibit In Focus, Marcos Presidency Thursday at the Likhang Filipino Exhibition Hall in Pasay City. Timed with World Photography Day on August 19th, the exhibit showcases defining moments of the Marcos Jr. administration over the past 4 years, captured by photojournalists accredited to cover Malacañang. Upon arrival, the first couple was welcomed by Presidential Communications Office or PCO Acting Secretary Dave Gomez, PPA President Noel Pabalete, and Pasay City Mayor Imelda Calixto Rubiano. They unveiled the exhibit's title board, a collage of images reflecting the president's leadership, designed by PPA officer Marianne Bermudez of the Philippine Daily Inquirer, with layout by graphic artist Otef Antipolo and concept by Pabalete. Tokens of appreciation were presented: a framed photo collage for President Marcos and a crystal podium with a 3D image of the first couple for the First Lady. They later joined PPA members for a photo opportunity before touring the exhibit. The collection features photographs of official engagements, meetings with foreign leaders, and interactions with Filipinos nationwide. Among the contributors are photojournalists from the Philippine Star, Manila Bulletin, PDI, Abante, the Manila Times, Police Files, Manila Standard, and Daily Tribune. Pabalete stressed the exhibit's role in affirming professional photojournalism amid the rise of artificial intelligence and social media. Founded in 1986, the PPA continues to preserve the nation's historical record through truthful visual documentation of the presidency. The exhibit runs free to the public from the 14th to the 30th of August from 10 in the morning until 7 in the evening, except Mondays.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. sat down Thursday at Malacañang Palace with Palafox Associates and its design arm, Palafox Architecture Group, to map out a master plan for the preservation and development of the world-renowned Ifugao rice terraces. The Presidential Communications Office or PCO released photos of the meeting led by architect and urban planner Felino Palafox Jr., where the proposed comprehensive urban, environmental, infrastructure, and economic development master plan was presented. The plan integrates heritage conservation, agriculture, tourism, infrastructure, environmental safeguards, and climate resilience to protect the 2,000-year-old terraces while creating sustainable livelihoods for the communities that maintain them. The proposal highlights conservation of traditional farming knowledge, strengthening of farmer and indigenous community incomes, and promotion of community-led tourism to ensure locals benefit directly from visitors. The Ifugao Terraces, carved into the Cordillera Mountains of northern Luzon, span 5 clusters: the Nagakadan, Hunduan, Central Mayuyao, Banggaan, and Batad, declared national treasures in the 1970s and protected under the National Cultural Heritage Act of 2010. The terraces remain a symbol of Filipino ingenuity and resilience. Palafox Associates, ranked among the world's top 500 architectural firms, has completed more than 1,900 projects across 40 countries since its founding in 1989, contributing to major urban and architectural developments both in the Philippines and abroad.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang pushed back Thursday against criticisms of the proposed 7.2 trillion peso 2027 national budget, urging lawmakers to study the plan before branding it either all ayuda or anti-poor. In a palace briefing, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro dismissed conflicting remarks from Caloocan Representative Edgar Erice, who claimed the budget leaned too heavily on aid, and ACT Teachers Representative Antonio Tino, who called it anti-poor for cutting social services while boosting infrastructure and defense.
Sino ba sa kanila nagsasabi ng totoo? Siguro dapat magsita muna sila or mag-usap muna sila. Sino ba sa inyo nagsisinungaling? Di ba? Sino sa inyong dalawa nagsisinungaling? O pareho ba kayo nagsisinungaling? Ulitin natin yung budget po, nandyan po ang purpose, definitely, ang manguna dyan ay edukasyon. Ang edukasyon ay hindi po ito pro-poor, sabi niya? Di ba? Ang pagpapalago ng edukasyon, ang pagbibigay ng scholarship, pro-poor, ang pagpapatayo ng mga bridge, ng mga kalsada, pro-poor, yung pagbibigay ngayon ng budget na malaki para sa DSWD, katulad na itong walang gutom project. Ano ito? Pro-poor? Hindi pwede nating i-isolate lang or isa-isahin lang. Lumit ang budget dito. Ito po lahat ng ginagawa ng Pangulo ay pangkalahatan. So, dapat yun yung maisip nila. Lahat ng ginagawa dito, makikinabang po lahat. Hindi lang mahirap, hindi mayaman, lahat ng Pilipino.
Stressed that the spending plan prioritizes education, infrastructure, disaster resilience, and social protection, citing programs such as the Walang Gutom program, subsidized rice, local government unit support funds, and disaster aid.
Tandaan natin, puro ayuda. Yung ibang mga mambabatas at ibang mga kababayan, sasabihin nila, bakit nabawasan daw ang pag-ayuda? Ngayon naman, kay Congressman Erice, puro ayuda. Siguro dapat mag-usap-usap kayo para hindi kayo nagsasabog, no? Hindi iba-iba yung inyong mga sinasabi. Siguro dapat malaman ni Congressman Erice na hindi po lahat ng kanya sinasabi, ipapaalam ko na sa kanya, na tama. Ang binigay po ng budget sa ngayon, nandiyan po, isa, edukasyon, infrastructure, disaster resilience. Ang edukasyon po ba ay pro-poor? Wala po ba itong ayuda? Yung walang gutom ni Secrex, ito ay parte ng budget. Yung yung 20 pesos na kada bigas, ay kada kilo na bigas, yan ba ay hindi para sa ayuda? Yung LGSF na binibigay para sa mga local government units, hindi ba ito para sa ayuda? Kapag ka nagkakaroon ng kalamidad at pumupunta ang Pangulo sa mga apektadong lugar at nagbibigay ng financial assistance, hindi po ba yun ayuda? Kaya sabi nga po natin, bago magsalita, mag-aral po muna.
The Department of Budget and Management, or DBM, submitted the 7.2 trillion peso proposal to Congress earlier this week, up 6% from 2026. Social services led with 2.456 trillion pesos, followed by economic services at 1.833 trillion pesos. Health is allocated 1.06 trillion, while infrastructure under Build Better More is set at 1.467 trillion pesos. Education remains the single largest departmental allocation at 976 billion pesos.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, Malacañang said Thursday the video of Vice President Sara Duterte threatening to kill President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and his family may carry elements of inciting to sedition, though the Department of Justice, or DOJ, will decide the exact charges. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro, a trial lawyer, noted her personal legal view after the DOJ filed a grave threats complaint based on the publicly circulated footage. She explained that criminal liability is separate from impeachment proceedings, which assess a leader's fitness to remain in office, including mental health and anger management.
Iba po ang nature ng criminal case, iba yung nature ng impeachment proceedings. So, sa impeachment proceedings kasi, dito inaalam kung yung leader ay dapat na maging leader pa. Yung kanyang kapasidad, yung kanyang mental health, yung kanyang pagiging agresibo, yung anger management, ito lahat ay dapat na nakikita kung ikaw ay magiging leader. Ang criminal case naman, ito ay yung liability dahil gumawa ka ng isang krimen. So, magkaiba po siya. So, pwede po siyang pagsabayan. Halimbawa man, halimbawa lang po na ito ay madismiss dahil sa kanyang mga kaalyado, hindi ibig sabihin na wala siyang ginawang krimen. Kasi ang elements of the crime ay nakasaad diyan sa Revised Penal Code. Kung lahat ng elemento ng crime ay present to convict her for committing grave threats, so pwede siyang maging liable for grave threats. Sabi ko nga, kulang pa yun. As a lawyer, if you will watch the full video, the video in full, ang effect nun is there is this intention to sow hatred against the president, against the government. So, it is not just a simple grave threats. Personally, my opinion. For me, but I cannot go against the DOJ. There is this element of inciting to sedition.
Duterte's remarks are already part of the impeachment case, with one article alleging grave threats against the President, First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos, and former House Speaker Martin Romualdez.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Marcos Jr. administration is moving to establish 210 evacuation centers nationwide, aiming to ease the burden on schools that continue to serve as temporary shelters for disaster-hit families. Malacañang reported Thursday that 299 schools are currently being used as evacuation sites across the Ilocos region, Central Luzon, the National Capital Region, Cordillera, Mimaropa, and Central Visayas. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, plans to build 16 centers this year and 32 more in 2027, in line with the Ligtas Pinoy Act, which mandates safe, fully equipped evacuation hubs in every city and municipality.
Marami pa rin pong paaralan ang ginagamit bilang evacuation centers at ang Ligtas Pinoy Act po ay ito po ay isang act na pinangungunahan po ng NDR, RMC at sa pamamagitan din po ng OCD. So ngayon ay nagpapa-implement po ang DPWH patungkol po dyan. And from the OCD naman po, per situation report na as of August 13, 2026, based na rin po sa DepEd, 299 schools used as evacuation centers in Ilocos Region, Central Luzon, National Capital Region, Cordillera Administrative Region, Calabar Zone, Mimaropa, and Central Visayas. And magkakaroon po, ito po ang plano ay magkaroon po ng 16 more evacuation centers na ipapatayo at ipapagawa ngayong taon. At 16 evacuation centers for 2026 at 32 for 2027. So yan po ang proposal so far ng DPWH. At ang matarget po ay magkaroon tayo ng evacuation centers na mga 210.
The Office of Civil Defense confirmed 19 deaths and more than 2.2 million people affected by tropical cyclones Luis and Maymay, along with the southwest monsoon or Habagat. Castro also highlighted government programs to combat flooding caused by garbage-clogged waterways. She stressed that public cooperation is crucial, as no matter how good the president's programs are, they will fail if people continue to throw trash. She reminded cleanup workers, including those hired under the Tulong Panghanapbuhay sa Ating Disadvantaged Workers or TUPAD program, to perform their duties properly. This follows viral reports of workers posing for photos while sweeping garbage, then leaving without completing the task.
So, marami pong mga programa ang Pangulo. At pero kahit ano pong ganda ng programa ng Pangulo, kung hindi rin po makikipagtulungan ng ating mga kababayan at tuloy-tuloy po silang magtatapon ng basura, ito ay isang example lamang po. Yung mga hinahire para sa tupad, sila ay in-engage para maglinis. Pero nakita po natin na ito yung nag-viral, na yung iba ay magpapa-picture lang. Kunwari may basurang winalis, pero after that, ay aalis na rin. Minsan sila pa yung nagtatambak ng basura para ipakita may basura sa lugar. Wawalisin nila, and then after that, nandun lang. So, ang gobyerno po ay binibigay po ang lahat. Kayo po ay hinahire para kahit papano ay meron kayong mapagkakitaan, pero gawin niyo po yung inyong obligasyon dahil hindi po naman kayo hinahire at binabayaran para gumawa lang ng mga fake videos. So, wag natin gayahin kung sino man yung mga iniidolo nyo mahilig sa fake news, wag nyo na pong tularan. Magkaisa po tayo para sa ating bansa.
That was Palace Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang says President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has no personal knowledge of the alleged leadership fund in the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, a supposed allocation for senators' pet projects. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro stressed the president would not have tolerated such an arrangement had he known. The issue resurfaced after former DPWH Secretary Manuel Bonoan testified before the Sandigan Bayan, claiming senators were given 500 million pesos each for projects, with committee chairman receiving 1 billion pesos. Several senators have denied the allegation. Castro relayed the DPWH's current position. There is no leadership fund in the proposed 2027 budget. Instead, projects are based on local and regional needs, cleared by regional development councils and compliant with the Department of Budget and Management or DBM guidelines. The palace emphasized that lawmakers' projects are not improper if they genuinely benefit constituents and are free from kickbacks. The administration recently submitted the 7.2 trillion peso 2027 National Expenditure Program or NEP with the president, DPWH and DBM vowing stricter safeguards against abuses seen in past flood control projects. Senator Panfilo Lacson earlier warned that project insertions do not automatically mean misuse of funds but could open doors to abuse.
No leadership fund under 2027 budget. All projects proposed in the 2027 DPWH budget are based on needs of the local and regional governments, and if needed, secured clearance from RDC and development councils to ensure that these benefit the people. Only projects that have complete documentary requirements such as plans, programs are submitted to ensure compliance with DBM guidelines. So maigpit po ang DBM. Kung nangyari po ito sa panahon noon, hindi po ito mangyayari sa ngayon. Sa totoo lang po ay hindi naman talaga masama. Kung mayroong project ang ibang mga officials, kung ito ay talagang mapapakinabangan ng ating mga kababayan, walang kickbacks, walang anumang anomalya. So mainam po na kung talagang may mga proyekto naman at ito ay para sa ikagaganda ng kanilang lugar at para sa ikabubuti ng constituents, wala tayong nakikita na dapat itong tanggihan. Ang nangyayari lamang po ngayon ay napakaingat po ng Pangulo, napakaingat ang DPWH at napakaingat ang DBM para kung ano man yung pang-aabuso na nangyari way back na nakita na noon, 2018 pa, ayaw pong mangyari ito ng Pangulo.
As Palace Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang says survey numbers do not always capture the full reality, stressing that the Marcos Jr. administration's performance cannot be measured by figures alone. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro told reporters Thursday that there are times when the numbers reflect reality, but there are also times when they do not. Her remarks came after a social weather stations or SWS survey showed 42% of Filipinos satisfied with government performance, 40% dissatisfied, and 17% undecided, yielding a neutral net satisfaction rating of +1, up from -13 in March. Ratings improved across regions, with Balanced Luzon posting the biggest gain at +13, while Metro Manila and Mindanao remained in poor territory. Despite mixed results, Castro said, President Marcos remains focused on programs to ease Filipinos' hardships. The administration scored very good marks in basic education with plus 68, helping the poor with plus 52 and job generation at plus 51. It earned good ratings in housing, food security, and defending sovereignty in the West Philippine Sea. Moderate scores were recorded in climate change preparedness and hunger prevention, while neutral ratings came in oil price solutions and crime prevention. The government fared poor in fighting inflation and corruption. Castro noted survey results might have been different had respondents known about the recent drop in inflation. She added the palace continues to listen to public grievances, underscoring that the president's focus remains on addressing the people's needs.
Hindi po ba noong nakaraang araw lang binanggit natin ang magandang news na ibaba ang inflation rate sa bansa? So ang tanong, yung iba bang sumagot dyan, alam yung news na ito? So maybe hindi. So definitely, iba ang magiging resulta sa survey. So kaya nga sabi natin, okay, may survey po tayo, pero hindi ibig sabihin na yan talaga yung nagre-reflect ng katotohanan. Can be or can't be. So, pero tayo naman din ay tumitingin kung ano ang hinaing ng ating mga kababayan. Yun naman po ang nasa Pangulo.
That was Palace Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang is reminding public school teachers to uphold professionalism and use proper judgment when engaging on social media, warning against practices that compromise the safety and privacy of learners. The palace issued the reminder after the Department of Education or DepEd flagged reports of teachers posting content featuring students for personal purposes, acts deemed inconsistent with DepEd's ethical standards. Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Claire Castro said, teachers must avoid such practices and maintain professionalism inside and outside the classroom. Castro underscored that teachers act as parents while schools serve as learners' second home. DepEd's memorandum released Monday reiterated policies on responsible social media use. It directed all personnel to treat learners with the highest degree of professionalism and to avoid actions that could compromise their integrity or the honor of the department.
Nakarating sa atensyon ng Department of Education o DepEd ang ilang mga insidente na kinasasangkutan ng ilang mga pampublikong guro na ginagamit ang kanilang propesyon sa paglabas ng mga content online, kabilang ang content na gumagamit o nagpapakita ng mga learner na labag sa ethical standards at sa polisiya ng departamento. Kaugnay nito, nagpaalala ang DepEd sa lahat ng mga pampublikong guro na iwasan ang ganitong mga practice at panatilihin ang professionalismo sa trabaho, sa loob man o labas ng apat na sulok ng paaralan. Nagpapaalala rin ang DepEd sa mga guro na panindigan ang kanilang sinumpaang tungkulin at patuloy na maging mabuting huwaran sa kanilang mga mag-aaral. Ang mga guro ay nagsisilbing ikalawang magulang ng mga kabataan at ang paaralan ay nagsisilbing kanilang pangalawang tahanan. Ang mabuting asal ay natututuhan sa tahanan at higit na nahuhubog sa paaralan.
Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD Secretary Rex Gatchalian announced Thursday that 600,000 families under the Walang Gutom Program or WGP are now eating right, citing survey results from social weather stations or SWS commissioned by Globe Telecom. The two-round survey showed hunger among WGP beneficiaries dropped by nearly 7 points, compared to just over 1 point among non-beneficiaries. Food insecurity also eased by almost 5 points for WGP households, while non-beneficiaries saw a slight increase. Launched in 2023 and institutionalized last year, the WGP provides 3,000 pesos in food credits via electronic benefit transfer or EBT cards, alongside mandatory kalusugan, kakayahan at kabuhayan sessions for nutrition and skills training. Gatchalian said the program will expand to cover all 750,000 food-poor families identified by the Philippine Statistics Authority this year, fulfilling President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s directive to fight hunger and food poverty nationwide.
Kaya namin na ngayon sabihin na 600,000 na pamilyang Pilipino ang kumakain na ng tama. Mamaya, kasama ng mga fellows natin mula sa SWS, iisa-isahin nila ang detalye kung paano namin nasabi ito. Ayon to sa data, ayon to sa isang field survey na isinagawa ng SWS that was commissioned by Globe. Nandito ang mga kaibigan natin sa Globe led by Yoli because tulad ng lagi namin sinasabi, ang pangit naman na kami ang nagmo-monitor at nagpapasurvey sa sarili naming programa. Globe, because they have a thrust in ending hunger katulad ng pamalaan, ang naging partisipasyon nila ay to commission SWS and their fellows to do regular impact assessment through field work, through surveys. No? Next slide. Just to give everybody a brief refresher, kung matatandaan nyo, yung programang Walang Gutom Food Stamp is an automated food stamp program. Binigyan ng electronic benefit cards ang ating mga benepisyaryo na bumibilang na sa 600,000. Yung mga electronic benefit cards, pumupunta sila sa mga kadiwa, sa mga market days organized in their basketball courts, or sa mga accredited retailers kung saan pwede nilang gugulin ang 3,000 na food credits kada buwan, food credits, para makapili among the food groups. 50% goes to carbohydrates, 30% goes to protein, 20% goes to dietary fiber. So yan yung tinatawag natin na Go, Grow, and Glow Foods. Ayon nito doon sa Pinggan Pinoy ng FNRI. Pero this is a conditional program, so sa tuwing nagre-redeem sila, uma-attend sila ng tinatawag namin na kalusugan, kakayanan at kabuhayan sessions wherein may food nutrition development sessions. Tinuturuan sila kung paano kumain ng mura, masustansya at masarap na pagkain. Partner namin dito ang TESDA at ang DOLE para sa mga upskilling nila para makahanap sila ng trabaho bilang kondisyon. Now, nung first phase, nung 2024, nung una kami nagpunta dito, we were looking at 23 LGUs kung saan tayo nag-ooperate, 300,000 household. Nung 2025, nag-expand tayo to 51 local government provinces, local government units, na ang total na natin ay 600,000 beneficiaries. This year, the remaining 150,000 to form the entire 750,000 food-poor families. Kasi matatandaan natin, ang target nito, food-poor families. Ayon sa PSA, may 750,000 tayo na rated na food-poor families, ay maipapasok na natin. Yung last 150,000, ang kanilang target beneficiaries, priority natin, mga pregnant and lactating women. Ayon sa direktiba ng Pangulo na siguraduhin na labanan natin ang stunting.
Department of Social Welfare and Development Secretary Rex Gatchalian.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has ordered the fast-tracking of the Sangley Point International Airport or SPIA project in Cavite. Under Administrative Order or AO number 44, the President directed tighter coordination among national agencies, the Cavite Provincial Government, and private partners to ensure the airport's timely completion. A joint technical working group or JTWG, co-chaired by the Department of Transportation or DOTR and the Philippine Reclamation Authority or PRA, will oversee the project. The group includes the Department of Environment and Natural Resources or DNR, Department of National Defense or DND, Department of the Interior and Local Government or DILG, Department of Justice or DOJ, Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines or CAAP, and the Cavite Provincial Government. The JTWG is tasked to resolve issues that may cause delays, enforce environmental and technical compliance, and submit quarterly progress reports to Malacañang. The DOTR will lead policy direction and integrate SPIA into the Greater Capital Region Airport System. CAAP will handle technical and regulatory oversight, while PRA will manage reclamation activities and review related fees. President Marcos also ordered strict adherence to environmental laws. The DENR and PRA will set up monitoring systems to safeguard marine and coastal ecosystems affected by reclamation and construction. AO number 44 takes effect immediately upon publication.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has declared 2 special non-working days in Iloilo City and the Cordillera Administrative Region or CAR. Proclamation number 1388 sets August 25th as a special non-working day in Iloilo City to mark its 89th charter anniversary. Proclamation number 1389 declares September 11th as a special non-working day in the CAR to commemorate the 40th SIPAT anniversary, recalling the 1986 peace accord between the government and Cordillera groups. The SIPAT anniversary falls on September 13, a Sunday this year. To allow full participation, regional officials requested that the holiday be observed on September 11th, a Friday. Both proclamations emphasized that it is fitting to give residents the opportunity to join the celebrations. By authority of the President, Acting Executive Secretary Ralph Recto signed the proclamations on August 11th.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. is blasting China's reported immigration actions against 100 Filipinos in Macau and Hong Kong, calling it plain and simple extortion and blackmail. In a statement Thursday, Teodoro condemned what he described as Beijing's attempt to interfere in Philippine law enforcement and its blatant blackmail against Filipinos. China's foreign ministry earlier confirmed its immigration staff had acted against over 100 Filipinos allegedly living or working illegally, insisting its personnel acted in a standard and civil manner. Reports linked to move to Teodoro's hardline stance against China, including the arrest of Chinese nationals last May in Misamis Oriental for handling hazardous materials without proper permits. Teodoro stressed those arrests were backed by court-issued search warrants and targeted principles of illegal enterprises. He accused Beijing of covering up for its nationals while ignoring their violations of Philippine law. The Defense Secretary said Filipinos in China have neither the intent nor the capacity to commit violations, much less on the scale perpetuated by Chinese nationals in the Philippines, adding that China's defense of its citizens is best evidence of their complicity.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service can be heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 15.640 MHz, 17.750 MHz, and 21.720 MHz. Radyo Pilipinas World Service is also live on audio streaming. Just download Evox PBS Receiver on your Google Play Store or the App Store from your Apple phone. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Just type in and search for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our post as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and mabuhay.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.